So brand new packet, very first page. So we've talked about wages. We've talked about hourly. Talked about fortnights. We've talked about annual salaries. We've talked about piecework. We've talked about royalties. Now we're going to go back to salary for a moment. Whether you are in wages or salary or any type like that, hopefully you're in a good enough working environment that you're going to get increases in pay. Okay? So this first one we're going to take a peek at. Lee made $4,189 working as a camp counselor in the summer. Each year, his summer salary increases by 1.7%. So here's the thing we've got to be careful with, because the first one here is done for. So we're just going to kind of talk through it, and then we'll do it ourselves. So 2022, it's the first year. That is his salary. It's the $4,189. 2023, again, you're not multiplying by 1.7 though. You're multiplying by 0.017 because remember, 1.7 is a percent. If we divide it by 100, that's, let me get it where it's not a total glare. There we go. That's where this is coming from. So 4189 times 0.017, $71.21. That's the raise. Okay? This is the increase. This is not what his salary is now. If you add that to last year's salary, okay, that is your new salary with the pay increase. Now, if I don't want to have to, for every single year, keep doing two steps. If I take how much he's making, multiply by 0.017, find that, take that, add that to the old one, here's the new. You also can, when you go to the new year, you can multiply by 1.017 instead. Here's what that does. The 1 is basically multiplying last year's salary into what we're doing. So instead of doing the two steps where we saw how that worked up here, if I just put the 1 in with my percentage, I can get to the same place. Can I still do it this way if I'm more comfortable? Absolutely. But if you like to go a little faster, it's an option. And so then, for every year after, no matter how many years you wanted to keep going, you would keep doing this. But remember, you're always using the prior year's salary as the starting point for your next year. You don't go back to 4189 again now and multiply by the 0.017. You'll get screwed on your raise. We don't want that to happen. And so this way you keep getting the 1.7% over and over and over. It's called compounding, which is a good thing when you're trying to make money. Not good when you're paying out money, but very good when you're making it yourself. So let's play with this a bit. And we'll do it both ways, because that way you can kind of figure out right now which way works better for you. So, okay. Andy made $4,588 in the summer working as a park ranger. Every year, his salary increases by 1.8%. If he started in 2017, okay, so in 2017, he made $4,588. That would be last year's salary. Times the increase. Again, I'll show you both. You figure out how you want to do it. 1.8% if we divide by 100 is 0.018. Now, if you wanted to, you could multiply that and then add it. But what we're going to do is we're going to put the 1 with it. It's going to make this go quicker for us. Because now, instead of having to do 2 steps, I only have to do 1. Now, I'm going to do it in a different color here to the side. And if you find you like this better, it makes more sense, I say do it. If you just want to multiply by the 0.018, you could get just the raise that he got, and then just take that and add that to his prior year's salary. And you'll end up with the exact same thing. So it's up to you which one of those makes more sense. Do you want to do the percent and then add it? Or do you just want to stick the 1 in front and do it all at once? And so you could start looking ahead however many years you wanted to at this point to figure out how this works. But you always start with the prior year's salary. And no matter which route you're going to go, multiplying by the 1.018 or doing it this way, you want to make sure you're getting all the raise that you're deserving of. And a lot of times you kind of look, you're like, wow, that's not a whole lot already. It's not. It's better than 0, but it's not always spectacular when we're looking at the single digits here. And so one more time then, and I'll quit running you through this pain and instead help with some of the practice, which I think, again, is going to help on a couple of the quiz questions you may have gotten stuck on. $48, $40, $23. And I could do that infinitely. There might even be some chances that somebody will be like, hey, your salary increased by 1.8, and then 2, and then 2.2, and it goes up even more that way. But we're going to try and keep it to pretty much a consistent, normal pace that we're doing these with. So, the actual practice today is going to go from 41 to 43. There's a change finally. Instead of us doing like 8 pages of notes, we did like 1, and then we kind of went from there. And so what I want to do, I'm just looking here quick because I thought I'd marked which ones I did. I just marked them in this one. Okay. I want to do a few of these. Just again to get us thinking about how this works. So let's say, for instance, we're dealing with number 2. So Pam works in the cafe. She earns $11.50 per hour. If she works 38 hours in a week, calculate her. Okay. Weekly income, 38 hours a week. There's how much she makes. I do want you to get into the habit of keeping life simple, but letting me see what you're doing to try and make it a little bit easier if we do have a problem. Now, fortnightly is just 2 weeks. So if I know how much I get in 1 week, to do fortnightly, I could just take the week I already know and multiply it by 2. I mean, I could do 38 times 2 times 1150. I could do that too. It's more buttons to press, though. And get that. Now monthly gets a little more interesting. She's like, well, Hardy, how do I know if it's going to be 4 weeks or 5 weeks? Typically, again, unfortunately, sometimes we have to make assumptions. It's not always the best opportunity, but we don't have enough other information to do it any other way. Unless I wanted to go down to daily and try and do that, but that's going to get a little crazy. And I can work through. But again, I have to understand how many weeks are in a month, how many weeks are in a fortnight, and I got to be able to keep working back and forth. And that first sheet, I think it was the back of the first sheet in your first packet, had all those arrows with here's 52, this is 12, this is 4, and I'm going to bring that back up here in just a moment. But here is the type of question. There was one like this on the quiz, and I'm hoping I'm going to help some of you out with this. So number 4, Rami earned $72,500 PA. Now what does PA mean? Per annum, which to normal people would mean annually. It's his salary when you see PA. Working 9 to 5:30, 5 days per week. Now the one thing they don't mention in here that we have to be aware of, when you work more than an 8-hour day, they have to give you a half-hour minimum for lunch. So, even though this is 8.5 hours, the actual working time is going to be 8 hours a day. Man, they throw all sorts of fun things in here. 5 days per week, so 40 hours a week, so nothing fancy. Calculate his hourly rate. Now you're like, wait a minute. Hourly rate? So how is this supposed to work? So, okay. First thing we got to figure out. Annual is yearly. We got to back this up into something where we can get to hourly. So let's do this. Job 1 is to go from annual to weekly, which we can do. How many weeks are there in a year? 52. So to get from annual to weekly, I'm going to divide by 52. So 72,500 divided by 52. So that would be 1,394.23. Okay, but that's not what's being asked for. Now I'm down to weekly. I got one more job. Now I'm going to go from weekly down to hourly. I work 8 hours, 5 days a week. How many hours is that? 40. Now, if it would have had a different number of hours, you only work 35, you work 32, you divide by that. But if they don't tell us, I've got it 8 hours, 5 days a week. Okay, 8 times 5 is 40. So that's going to be my last bit of info that I have to do. I take that 1394 number, I divide it by 40, 3486 it looks like. Hourly. So here's kind of the hint that goes with this. And I'm going to get this up too as we're working along here. Some of the questions on the quiz asked you to go from monthly to weekly, monthly to hourly, annual to monthly, all these other things. Annual is once a year. The other ones I have to have the background on. I have to be able to know, hey, if they ask for weekly from that, I got to divide by 52. If they ask me monthly, I got to divide by 12. If they ask me by fortnight, there'd be 26 of those in a year. And then I can get to an hourly rate if that's what I'm trying to do. But I've got to see how those adjust. Like, I can't go from an annual salary of $100,000 and then say my weekly salary is $50,000. That doesn't make sense. So I have to kind of keep working on seeing how this goes. And like I said, I'll freeze this up there in a while, or I'll put it on the front board too, just to kind of help remind you of some of those things. Because I'll be honest, a lot of you on the ones you missed on the quiz, when I could see the work, just was forgetting one of those little pieces that was in there, or forgetting the overtime pay, or something like that. It wasn't major things at all that we are having to concern ourselves with on that, okay? So, like I said, I'll put this back up in a minute. We'll make that set. The other one, hang on, I gotta find it because I marked it in this one instead of this one. Number 3 back here, okay. Ooh, oh no, we're going number 2. Number 2 is almost exactly like one of the quiz questions. Okay. Who earns the higherly rate of pay? We had job 1 and job 2 on the quiz. By how much? Okay. So, Grace earned $23.35.80 per fortnight. 2 weeks. Working 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, take that half an hour out of there. 5 days per week. So you're like, okay, so let's see. 8:30 to 5, it'd be 8.5. Take a half hour, that'd be 4:30. 8:30 to 4:30. So that'd be 8 hours. 5 days a week. And then Donna, per month, we're just going to put 4 weeks in there just to remind us. Working 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday. Again, we've got to take the half hour out. So you're like, okay, that's 12 hours. That'd be 11 and a half. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is 4 days. So here's what I can figure out just from the info they've given me so far. Grace is working 40 hours a week. 8 times 5. Donna is working 11.5 times 4. 46 hours a week. So you're like, okay, Hardy, that's a lot of stuff you're asking me to keep track of. You got weeks, hours per week, hours in a day. Okay, let's just slow this down a little bit. We're trying to get to hourly. So every 2 weeks, Grace gets this. Job number 1. Fortnight to weekly. So I'm like 2 weeks down to 1. We need to divide whatever she's getting by 2. So 23.35.80 divided by 2. So that's what she's making, 1167.90 per week. Now we're not to hourly quite, we're almost there. To get to hourly, divide by how many hours she worked that week. She works 40. Divide by 40. So 29. That's going to round up to 20. If you put 29.19, it'd be okay. That's not a bad thing. So 2 weeks to 1 week, to hours based on how many we worked. Donna, same idea. Except we're going from a month to a week. So there's 4 weeks in a month, typically. So we do 5780 divided by 4, 1445. But before I look at that and go, well, Donna's doing better. Donna's making more every week. Donna's also working more hours every week. So divided by 46 hours per week. Oh, drum roll. Let's see. 1445 divided by 46. 3141. Donna wins by, let's subtract those, $2.21 per hour. So you can see, not every problem is just, I do one multiplier, one divide, and I'm done. Sometimes we've got to dig back into the information and just kind of keep chugging along and see if the answer looks legitimate. Like if somebody's making $57.80 a month, if they're making over $100 an hour, that's not real likely. And kind of play with that a little bit. So, one last one I want to do to help out with. Then I'm going to kind of let you work here, and I'm going to try and get a couple more hints up for some things from the quiz. So number 3, just because this is a little bit different again. Kurt is to be paid fortnightly, every 2 weeks, instead of monthly, every 4 weeks. His monthly income is $8,400. The first part's going to go quick. Because if I'm going from monthly to weekly, I'm being paid twice as often. So I really could just do 8,400 divided by 2. Now, could I go to weekly and then come back up to times 2? I could. I could. That would get me to the same thing. So I divide that 4,200 by 2. I see how much I'm going to make every 2 weeks. So B. Kurt saves 10% of his fortnightly income. Okay. Again, 10%, we've got to make it into a decimal. We got to divide by 100. So Kurt is saving $420 every check, every 2 weeks, every fortnight. And so the last part of that, 'cause there's 2 questions in this one. How many fortnights should he save to reach 5,000? Okay. So 5,000 divided by, he's doing 420 every check here. You're like, well, 11.9. Okay, but again, they're not going to pay me 9/10 of a fortnight, so I got to round up. So after 12 paychecks, I should have $5,000 in my savings. Everything comes back to this stuff again. So on those 3 pages, on 41 to 43, play with these, especially based on the ones that you just had shown to you. I'm going to freeze this thing up here, and I'm also to try and help out a little bit with some of the things that I saw as far as the quiz went, just to kind of get some reminders out there again. Let me grab that one. No, not this one. No, not that one. The Unit 4 ones that you just got back. There we go. Again, helpful hints are what we're about around here. Things that would be helpful. All right. So in packet number 1 on page 2, that's where it's got all the comparisons with multiplying and dividing between annual income, weekly, fortnight, monthly, and all those other things like that. Other reminder, overtime, which is over 40 hours, you get 1.5 times your pay. And on holidays, and sometimes on weekends, it depends on the job. There was a question in the quiz where I said, I think it was Nick. Nick was working Saturday and Sunday. I put right in the problem, it said double pay on weekends. So again, I'm looking to see as much your attention to detail as anything else. But again, if between these 3 bits of info, there's still something you're like, wait, so is this what this means? I'll walk you through it. I absolutely will. But try something with it and see how that goes.